All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A here on the Ono Coffee channel. I'm Jay, your host. What's happening? We're back again Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, talking about coffee things, questions, answers, whatever you want. What's going on? How you all doing? If you got questions, drop them in the comments or down below, whatever you want to do. Comments, ideas for future videos, let me know. We'll talk about it. So today, we've got something. How was your weekend, by the way? Weekend was good. On Friday, I went down to here in Baltimore. I went to a place called Bordy Vineyards. Bordy Vineyards was having a First Friday concert where Maryland Opera was performing with an artist by the name of Amy Shoremount-Obra. And that might sound a bit familiar to you because that's Rusty's wife. And Rusty called me up and he's like, "Hey, man, are you going to my wife's show?" And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." And anytime that Amy comes to town to perform, I always try to make an effort to go see and hang out and enjoy wonderful opera. She's a wonderful performance and a wonderful singer, and really a nice time. So the other things, actually, if you're interested to see what it was like, I actually shot a video of the performance that is exclusive to the viewers of this particular live stream. I put it on the channel, but it's completely unlisted, so you have to click in the link in the description below to get there. There's no way to search for it to go there otherwise. So if you want to see the performance, go check it out. It's really a nice time. There's really three major artists. There is Amy and Ben and Heidi. Heidi is like the most junior. She's studying opera at the Peabody Conservatory, and Ben is a singer in the local area. But they do a wide range of selections from different operas, as well as more modern, pieces. It was kind of a discovery for me because there was a couple of pieces that Heidi did that were really new to me. There's two English pieces that are from more musical theater style that I really enjoy that I'd never heard of before. So, Mom, good morning to you. Michael, good to see you. How things in Houston, and a lot to you, Keone, out there in Thailand. You're coming back to the U.S. right soon, or you're traveling somewhere, from what I remember. So Rusty calls me. He's like, "Hey, man, are you going to see my wife's show?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." He's like, "Good. Make sure you go see because I got something for you." And I thought he sent me a picture of like this cigar, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate that." I was like, but I guess that wasn't it because maybe wasn't even looking at the right message. I don't even know. But Amy's like, "Hey, I got this thing for you," and I was like, "What?" And she's like, "But it's in the car." I was like, "Oh," because I was just thinking a cigar. It's going to be real easy, just kind of like something small. You can carry with you in your bag. But then she was like, "No, it's a box." And I was like, "It's a box?" And so here is the box. And I wasn't sure what it was, but when I saw this, the Ono Coffee mailbag, I was like, "Oh, well, this must be for the show, or we'll do it on the show because, I don't know. It's kind of cool. So as you can see here, I have not opened it. I don't either. Now, feeling it, it's kind of heavy. It's fairly heavy. Like, this is 3,000 grams. This is going to be more than 3,000 grams. I'm looking at the scale to see if now it has this. It's trying to decipher. It must be some kind of opening box because right now, like along here, I can feel there's a ridge and like a lip. Then it's a little bit underneath here. So that works all the way around. But here, oh no, it's also there too. Okay, so I don't know. But whatever's in here is slightly shifting. So I have no idea what's in the bag or what's in the box. We're going to find out. And then see if it has something to do with coffee. All right, let's get into it. Okay, here we are. As you can see, Ono Coffee mailbag. That's kind of cool. Let me take a photo of this. The photo I used in the thumbnail was the picture I took of Amy when we were at the show. All right, so I'm a little bit anal when it comes to opening packages. Like I've always, even since I was a child, I never really was into the whole tearing it apart. I always wanted to, make it look pretty or keep it looking pretty. And I had a viewer leave a comment on one of the older videos, the Temu video. He was like, You take too long to open a box. I was like, yeah. Well, at least you're watching on the replay, so you can actually, fast forward through the videos. It's not like you guys that are live that are kind of stuck waiting for me to finish my talking. All right, let's do this. And speaking of musicians, I met the other day, I was at the Guitar Center hanging out, and this guy and I are talking in the recording studio portion of Guitar Center, and he's like, yeah. And we're talking about like speakers, right? Audio monitors, near field reference monitors, right? For when you're recording. And he was like, yeah, I'm looking for these ones. And the way he was talking, he had this accent, right? And I was like, this guy sounds like he's from Texas, right? And I was like, so hey man, where are you from? He was like, I'm actually from Southern Texas. I was like, really, where? I'm from McAllen. I was like, oh, McAllen. I was like, what? I had a girlfriend in McAllen many, many years ago. Right, not a girlfriend, but a crush, a heavy crush in McAllen. And so it turns out he plays for a band called Los Fugitivos. So I don't know, Michael, if you've heard of them or if you follow Tejano music down there. Evidently, it's kind of new wavy kind of Tejano music, more cumbias and things like that. And we were talking. Oh, look at this! Look at that white. Ooh. All right, there's tape back here. And they've been around since the 90s, evidently. And so he has not been a member of Roger was not been a member of the band since the 90s. He's more of a newer musician. But the band leader has, of course, that founded the band and has been, they have a following. So they play all of their hits, their classics, of course, to a Tejano music scene. Kiri says, I'm going to Guam and Saipan later this month, KL and Tokyo next month. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Taiwan in November and hopefully Hawaii. Wow, awesome. So these are all trips where you're going to be doing tattooing or teaching tattooing. Is that correct? That's pretty epic, man. KL, Tokyo. What's a good place in KL? Oh, yeah, definitely go see that. Oh, what is her name? I think I mentioned this last week, but Trisha Chan. I think you should definitely go visit her place. She has, this is her Instagram, right? Trisha Chan. She has a place called, I don't know her name. Her place. It says Dissolved Solid, Soluble Salts, Equilibrium. Maybe it's called Dissolved Solids. I think that's it. Dissolved Solids is her place. This is the one when she was one of my judges the last time I was there in KL, and she was really interesting. I mean, she from what she was telling me, she was like, "Yeah, this is what we do," and I was like, "That's really interesting." I wish I had the time to go there, but my time in KL was so limited that I was unable to go. Okay, let's have a look here. Yes, tattooing a community assessment. Oh, nice, excellent. Okay, so here we go. Oh. Okay, there's a flappy thing here. Okay, there's a magnetic flappy here. I'm always concerned about tearing the box. Okay. Oh, it's all white here at the bottom. All white here. All white there. All white there. It's shifting. All white there. It is, I gotta say, it is rather heavy. Oh, it's also white here. Huh. This is nondescript white box. It could be a bomb. Like, if we suddenly lose transmission as I'm opening it, then it's a bomb that has exploded. And, one never knows. All right, so here we are. Let's open up this. I think this flap opens here. This flap opens. Oh. Rusty has this thing here says, oh, I should put that. Here's something for the new shop that I hope you appreciate. Cheers, Rusty. Oh, all right. What do we have here? So we've got our like nice heavy duty packaging. It's fairly substantial. Let me put this. I'm going to put this down on the side. I don't really have a place to put a lot of stuff around here. Let me just put it over here. Okay. I'm going to open it so you guys can see it first. Right. I will not look at the monitor. Can you see anything? Oh, there's still nothing to see yet. Okay. Oh, nicely packaged. Thank you, Rusty. I appreciate that. Oh, my goodness, even more packaging. Good thing I didn't open at the parking lot at the venue on Friday night, because I would be doing all of this. Okay, so now we've got more tape. So of course, Rusty is teaches culinary in high school, so he's actually teaching at the moment. He said that I told him that I was going to open on today's show, and he's like, "I'll catch it on the replay." And I was like, "All right, excellent." Oh, here it is. More. Good Lord, more wrapping. I guess you could have shipped this. Oh. I can already see through the packaging. And look at this guy. This is, if you're not familiar, this is the Michelin Man from the Guide Michelin, which is in the culinary world, the idea of pursuing Michelin stars is a very sought after passion, and a tremendous honor to win one. And I always liked the ideals of restaurants that pursue that. And I always thought that we should have coffee. I wish there was a way that coffee could be recognized in that respect. Like, and I've always been fascinated by it. So the idea was always to see if we could do something like that, or at least maybe not. It's very difficult. I think it's a very difficult proposition to do coffee as a Michelin star thing, because it would require a lot of work, but more importantly, it would require a lot of, it requires a lot of money, in that people would have to pay, like, are people willing to pay that kind of money for that? So I don't know, but it's definitely something we've always liked. But of course, one of the things that I've always thought about coffee is that it's relatively obscure as far as a culinary pursuit, without much respectability. And it's changing slowly. Look at this thing. This is like an antique, but it's a battle piece. Like, it is massively heavy. Oh, there he is. What's up, everybody? Oh my God. Oh, this is metal. I thought it was like ceramic. This is actually cast. Wow. So I don't even have to worry about dropping it now. I could drop it and your head and okay, so it's a bank. It's a little bank. Oh, and it splits. It's a bank. It's a bank. And I guess there's this screw here. So yeah, and you can see here there are halves to it. So you could actually, I guess what the idea is that you put your coins in here, and then when you're ready to extract them, you remove the screw, and then you can pull the halves, and you can kind of see here the screws for the base plate are actually for the front part of the feet. Wow, this thing must be like way old. This is awesome, man. Thank you very much, Rusty. Thank you. This is truly awesome. This is truly awesome. This will definitely go to the new shop. And be a reminder of what we're trying to do. Like the new place will have certain elements I'm planning for this of what might be considered like Michelin star kind of approaches to coffee. Yeah, nice. Isn't that nice, Keone? All right. Well, while we're doing that, we might as well have some coffee. All right, speaking of which, so I got this coffee here. This is a sample that was given to me by Matt, who got this as a green sample from a woman by the name of Yulima Taborda Rojas. She's an importer here in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area. That's called, what is the name of it? Paisa Coffee. And she's mostly focused on coffees from Colombia. And Matt was like, "Here, I want to give this." He got this sample. He roasted. It's been a while, but I thought, let's give it a try today. This is a Harvest 2023, so it's a little bit older. March of 2023 is when it arrived in the United States, so it's over 18 months or almost 18 months in the U.S. It's a blend of Castillo Rosario and Seni Cafe Uno varieties from the Rojas Granado. I guess this is from her family. Yeah. From her family, the Finca El Camilo in Amaga, Antioquia, Colombia, 1,900 meters. So it's anaerobic, 60 plus hours, and it's a washed anaerobic coffee. That George, what's going on, George? That is well, we're going to find out how it is. It should be fairly decent. We were tasting some of her coffees the other day. Had three of them. Had a decaf, a washed, and a natural. Is that right? And it was interesting because I'm not one. You guys already that watch this know that I'm not really a big fan of light roasted coffees or bright coffees. Like that's just not my thing. Like if I'm gonna drink coffee for myself, like I want something a little more richer, more full, more rounded, right? I don't want the light bright. Actually, I think one of my friends online was getting kind of irritated with me because I said something about it in one of these discussions, and he was all like, "Well, then what's good besides Spro?" And I was like, "It's like, gosh, man, it's not an attack on your tastes. Like it's just not my. It's just an acknowledgement that it's not my taste, right? Because we're tasting these coffees, and I'm like, oh, this one coffee that we're tasting. It's on my Instagram if you want. I just don't remember all the details, but one of the ones was really like interesting in that it would not necessarily be a coffee that I would like to drink, but I thought it had really great qualities and really enjoyable flavors, especially for someone that likes their coffees, right? It's like, I think, and I was tasting and I was like, man, this would be really good as a light roast. Like there's so many aspects of this coffee that I think would be really great and people would really love. And that's the one thing that I had to learn early on in my coffee career was that, as an operator, coffee is much more than strictly what I like, right? I'm not buying coffees that I necessarily want to drink all the time, right? Like if I was left to my own devices, like I'd be looking for blueberry naturals, and I'd have a whole menu full of blueberry naturals, and which would be very, for me lovely, but for everybody else, it'd be like, well, this is kind of like one noted. So I learned early on that, we have to like offer a range of flavors, a range of experiences for people to try and to enjoy, because not everyone's tastes are going to be the same. And so like this particular coffee, really beautiful, like citrusy notes and bright tones. I was like, wow, if we got this for, some of our guests that like that, I think it could be, I think they would enjoy it very, very much. And that's one thing that I have to do is like, I have to look at a wide range of coffees. And sometimes I may not like them, but I'll still buy them because you know what? I think it's a quality coffee that people will enjoy, right? And I don't know how this one is, but we're going to have a look at it. I wasn't sure what was in the box, right? So I was going to like, if it was, I wasn't sure if he sent coffee or whatever he had sent. I was like, okay, so, but I was actually going to do this coffee on like Wednesday's show. But then now I was like, well, let's do it now. Let's do it now. All right, let's have a look here. We've got our monkey pod, and we're going to pour out some of this coffee. Now, as you can see here, this is a little bit, Matt roasted this, right? So it's a little bit dark especially for a cupping roast. Like, I think this is more of his production style roast. So, Mom says, I have a question. Do you add hot or cold water to heat up? You mean in this? If you're asking about this, then I typically add cold water. Now, in a production situation, let's say we're actually like, let's say in Spro, Hamden, we had these big water towers that were always being constantly heated to like 96 Celsius or 98 Celsius. Yeah, 96 Celsius. And those were auto-fed, plumbed in, so they was constantly feeding itself. Like the sensor inside the thing as we consumed the water, it would lower it, the boiler, and then the boiler sensor would fill the boiler as necessary. We didn't have to worry about it. Now, in the case of the Café du Spro, and in turn, as we would dispense hot water from the tower, we would finish it. Well, there's no way to put it back in, so we would just dump that. Okay. Now, in the case of Café du Spro, when we were using these type of kettles on a induction burner, we would fill them fresh with cold water because there's more oxygen, they're more aerated, right? So you get better. However, if we did boil water, brewed a bit, and then there was some left over, we would return that to the pot. But any kind of filling, we would fill with cold water, okay? I think that's the better way to go. Because they say, I have never really tested it, but they say that after you heat the water, it drives the oxygen, not the oxygen, because oxygen is part of the molecular structure of water. I don't know, but they say it drives something. They say, I've heard people say oxygen out of the water, so it's not as dynamic as cold water would be. So I've never really tried to test that. I just kind of like, okay, that sounds plausible. Let's just go with that, right? I've learned that like not everything that people claim, you don't always have the time to test every claim. So sometimes you just got to pick, okay, we'll buy into that theory or we won't buy into that theory, right? Okay, so here is our coffee. So kind of dark. So that's going to have an effect on it. Now, I will tell you that what do you call it? I will tell you that Matt was telling me that he wasn't a fan of this coffee. I don't remember exactly why, but he was not a fan. So something to consider. Now, of course, everybody has different tastes. So let us get our scale together. All right, here we are. We're going to go to 24 grams. We're going to go back today to our Espro brewer because I think it was Peter or maybe Michael that was telling me later in the comments that because if you remember on the show where we did the Espro, there was like half of the coffee was still stuck in this brewer. So I think it was Peter that was saying that you have to pump it. Is that right? Pump it. Here's the problem that I found, and this is something I thought about. I experienced when we first had it, and then I've experienced it today as I was, after taking it out. Now, the silicone gasket here goes in really smoothly. It does not come out very smooth. It doesn't want to come out. Like it skips, right? It's kind of a pain in the butt. But evidently I can pump it. I don't know how that's going to work, but evidently I can pump it and it's going to, give me its thing. I put this back away. Bibendum. Oh, that's the name of that's the name of this guy. Right, Bibendum. Over 40 years old. We should have coffee tokens that we can. I would like that. I would like that. Where was it warehoused both pre and post roasting? Well, honestly, this particular coffee, I don't know when it was roasted. We were tasting, not cupping, but we were tasting coffees at Matt's house. He had just roasted the 3 coffees that are in my Instagram post. This was something that he had sitting in the cupboard. So it's cool. It's probably been sitting around for quite a while. I don't know how long. He did not put a date on the packaging as far as when he roasted it. So date unknown, but definitely old. Yeah, let's go here. Let's get our virtuoso back. And we've got it still set to the full course setting that we had on Friday. Peter, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Peter, was it you that was talking to me about how I need to pump the Espro brewer? Is that right? Oh, not you. Okay. Maybe it was somebody else. It's actually in the comments of the last video. Although I do have a question for you guys, because on my Instagram, one of my friends, she's actually a really great friend of mine. Like I love her to death. Rookie Del Rue, and she works for, I think she works for CQI or Cup of Excellence, CQI. She had posted on her Instagram, so I kind of stole it and brought it to my Instagram to get, to hopefully get a little more feedback from it. But basically about the co-fermentation type of coffees, like what is the term that you prefer? And but it got into a little bit more of a discussion where it wasn't a couple of tangents, but one of the tangent that I was curious about is that those of you guys out there who are, buying these co-ferment coffees, right? These tainted coffee, these coffees that have additives given to them for the processing. And one of the guys that in the comments on my Instagram did mention that they experienced this. And I'm curious to know more, if more of you, do you experience when you're using these co-ferments, do you find that it leaves flavors behind in the grinder that affect the next coffee that is not of the same processing? This is something actually I honestly had not thought about before, and I was thinking maybe if we start to delve more into those, perhaps we should get dedicated grinders for those coffees. And then, my other curiosity is, how are you managing that? Like, so let's say you use a peach ferment or whatever that flavored coffee may be. You run it through your grinder. How do you clear it out well enough so that you're not sensing that in the next? Or is that even a concern? That is something that I'm. Peter says, I just know how to bring. I get you. I hear you. So I guess we're touching on a sore subject for you. Okay, so now we've got our coffee ground. Let's go here and we'll put it on our scale. Let me bump up the heat again. 570 grams for this thing. I wonder how much the Michelin guy weighs. Bibendum. I mean, Bibendum weighs in at 1.8 kilos. He's all like, this guy's hefty. Like if somebody came into the shop with a gun, I could bludgeon him. Bibendum, like this guy. This is not messing around, man. Okay, so here we are. Let's go back here. We got to go back to this. We're gonna. Peter says, I'm spritzing my beans now. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't rust out your grinder. Hopefully it does not. All right, so there we go. We got our coffee in here. We got our timer. This time I'm going to just count up so we don't have to worry about it. Okay, now water has rolling boil. And I'm going to wait just a few moments. I'm going to take the cap off, let it breathe out a little bit. Again, I think that we had some really nice results as we let the pouring temperature drop to 205, 204. I kind of like this idea, so which shouldn't take too long. All right, let's try this now. We're going to go straight from the kettle into this. I'm going to try to wet it all in like 80 grams. Oh, no, I got to 100 grams. That's already too much. That's all right. George asked, meeting demands is what drove you to offer dark roast, right? Actually, no. Well, not. I mean, meeting demands, yes, of course, we do want to meet the requests of our guests, but it was not solely driven by that. It was really driven by the fact that I had mucked up a roast and lost track of it and lost control of it. Then it became dark, and I didn't want to throw it away. So I was like, oh, let's offer it for our guests under the counter. So those who walked in, do you have dark roast? I said, well, actually, we normally don't have dark roast, but today we do just for you. And they then we started doing that. But, you know, perhaps through a combination of, oh my gosh. Okay, well, you know, sometimes I'm talking and not paying attention. So 400 grams, it's going to be a little watered down, a little bit watered down. What can you do? What can you do? All right, we're going to put this in here. Put this in. Now, it slides in really well. It's just difficult to pull it out. Okay, I'm touching the press part to the top of the grounds. So yeah, that was really how it worked. We kind of had this thing where I had mucked up a roast and decided to just bring it in the shop and just kind of sell it under the counter, right? Just as an off-menu item that only for those in the know. And it became popular enough that eventually, and you know, it was good coffee. Like, it was still very high quality coffee that was just darkly roasted. And then I was tasting it. I was like, well, you know what? It's really pretty not bad it's actually pretty good for a dark roasted coffee. And because we're using our regular, like, nice quality coffee, it's good. It's solid. Like, it's not, and it was darkly roasted, but it wasn't into the char level. So like, it still had a lot of it still had a lot of expressiveness, right? Maybe not the new one, but the expressiveness. And so we started offering that as part of eventually brought that to the regular menu. So we would always have that. Always have it, maybe because, you know, people wanted it, but also maybe because I just was a terrible roaster and, you know, would always make mistakes. All right, 2 minutes, 42 seconds. Front 242. Actually, my friend just went to see Front 242 in Cleveland last night. He's seen them so many times that the band knows who he is. And like, he's crazy. Like, he goes to the shows, like the show starts, like doors open at 6:30. He's in line outside the venue at 12. I'm like, dude, you know the band already. Just call them up. I think that because they're open seating kind of places. So he wants to like be right on the stage. I'm just like, dude, I'm not that motivated to go see anyone. George says, sorry, how did I do till late start? I didn't see today's show on my YouTube. Oh, no worries, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, or no, almost 4 minutes. We're waiting for 4 minutes. And the problem with this is, like, because there's a lid on it, it's not terribly exciting, right? It's not terribly exciting. So what can you do? All right, 47, 48, 49. Okay, we put too much water by like 50 grams. Maybe we should go a little bit over. Maybe we'll go to 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Rusty's with us. What's up, man? What's up? We have Bibendum has arrived. Thank you very much. And he says hello. This is quite epic, my friend. Thank you very much. This is very, very awesome. Thank you. All right, let's press now. We're 4 minutes, 20 seconds. 420. 420. Press that down. We're tasting the coffee from Finca El Camilo in Antioquia, Colombia. which is an old crop. It's past crop, last year's crop. My friend roasted it, and he had it sitting around. He's like, "You want to try it?" I was like, "Oh, sure, I'll try it." Okay, stop that. And so now we're trying. We're doing it in the Spro. Now, last time I poured this. Okay, remember when you're working with a French press, they have these like little grates, right? See that grate there? You want to make sure that it's facing your spout. Otherwise, it's going to measure out how much are we getting in here. Rusty says, I hope you like him. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Funny things, I noticed that in one of the shops you toured in Malaysia had this. Oh, really? Oh, I will have to look at that. I will look again. That's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, very thoughtful. Thank you very much. All right, let's pour here. All right, so I'm going to pour it. Okay, that's it. That's it. I poured everything that I can out of this Espro. Maybe I'll rotate it again. No, that doesn't help. Now, this one of the viewers was like, okay, you need to just pump it. And it will give you more. So I did get some liquid out of that. Let's go back and see how much liquid we're going to get. 182. We have 327. Now, if I pump again, okay, I think that's it. I don't know if we're getting any more. I don't know if we're getting more. Let's pour. Let's pour. Okay, so as you saw, we poured 400 grams of water into the Espro. We were able to extract now 336 grams. So we're missing 64 grams of water. Now we're going to be missing some level of grams because there's going to be absorption and retention by the dry coffee. So we're still, even at 400 grams, we're still not getting our normal 12 ounces, I don't think. But time to try, time to see what it's like. And George says, oh, so maybe Matt forgot when he was, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he was trying to go for a lighter roast. If you're doing like typical critical roast profiling for a cupping, with that intentionality for critical review, you'll typically take it just past first crack. This is definitely way past first crack. This is definitely more like how I think he does his production roast, so a little bit more into medium. Get that Maillard reaction, that little more development, a little more sweetness typically. All right. Definitely not a roast profile if you're a light and bright kind of guy, right? If you're a light and bright kind of person, this will probably not yield the results that you would like. Actually, I was speaking to an enthusiast online just the other day, and he was like talking about his coffee and how he wants certain characteristics. And he was like, oh, I have a switch. I've only used it as a V60 pour over, but I'm not getting what I want. I said, well, what is it that you want? He's like, well, I forgot what character, but he wants certain characteristics that I don't think are. And I said to him, you have to look at the coffee that you have. Like if you want more sweetness, more body, more development, but you're only talking about light roasted coffees, that's going to be a little more difficult. And you should investigate other coffees to see if that will give what you're looking for. All right, let's have a pour. So, not as clear as we're used to because this, of course, is a French press. Even though it's double filtered by the Espro twin stainless steel mesh filters, it's going to have still minor sediments that comes through. You can still see a slight sheen of the oils, slightly. And so that's going to change the way that the coffee is perceived on your palate. It typically gets a little bit heavier, but let's see. Okay, initial taste, I can see why Matt doesn't like this coffee. It's definitely more of a lactic acid kind of flavor. Like it's in some ways, so it says it on the bag here, 60-hour anaerobic fermentation. Wash coffee. So what this, I don't know if that necessarily means they're washing it first and then putting it into anaerobic conditions after for 60 hours. I'm not sure, but there's definitely some kind of like malolactic fermentation happening with this particular process because I can taste the lactic acid. Characters. It's in some respects, it reminds me of how we have our Perla Negra process because that uses a anaerobic fermentation that is intentionally converting malic acids to lactic acids to give it more of a creamy, milky character. And I'm tasting some of that creamy milkiness here, but it's more just like a milky character, but it's a bit rougher and not as smooth. Now, as it's cooling a little bit, there's a little more sweetness developing. Maybe hints of durian. Which, of course, if you don't like durian, that could be really unappealing. Peter saying acidic isn't sour citrus. No, it's more like lactic acid. So it's got that cremosa, that creaminess to it, right? It's, you know how when you drink milk, it kind of coats the palate. There's a little bit of that coatiness, that milky lactic acidness. I would definitely not categorize this as. I mean, there may be a little bit of there's definitely some acidity, but I wouldn't say that it's citrus, and I wouldn't say that it's sour either. But there's definitely a acidic character to it, but it is also kind of more creamy, if that makes any sense. Like sour cream, perhaps, but not so sour. If that makes sense. But as with anything, you want to taste the coffee through its life cycle, right? At least for evaluation, because you know that if you're serving coffee to guests, it's unlikely they're going to chug-a-lug it right away. So they're going to drink it over a period of time, and you want to understand what that experience may be like for them. Which is why when we're tasting coffees or if we're cupping coffees, we want to do that over a length of time so that as the cup from hot to cool, and of course some people will finish it a lot faster than this time period, but we want to know what we can kind of expect for our guests, right? George says, add more coffee to that before you place the plunger. I mean, we're using essentially the same ratio of coffee to water that we normally use, 24 to 350. This time I did pour a little bit more than I thought that I was going to. So that was a little bit problematic. But we're only getting 36 grams out of it. So I don't think that, and we went a little bit longer with our extraction. So to try to compensate for, I don't think that we're necessarily too far different than how it would be if I'd poured it correctly. Jackfruitish. There could be some of that, but early on that would be when it was more. Right now, so it's kind of changing. We're kind of moving away from that lactic, that creamy aspect where I thought it was where I would say it could be like a really light durian, and now it's moving more towards. It is moving more towards that brightness of acidity. That could be. You could say that it was jackfruit-ish. I don't know if I would say it wouldn't be like It's not one of those things you taste and you're like, oh, it's jackfruit, but maybe you could say that it has a jackfruit-ish kind of character. Like Matt doesn't like this coffee at all. That's why it's still, he didn't drink any of it, but I think it's all right. Interesting. George says, maybe you could offer roast levels like the toast description for whiskey barrels from number 1 to alligator. Well, that's one thing that we could be doing. Yogurt. Perhaps a yogurt could be very similar to that. That could be. Well, the interesting thing is that one of the iterations of service that I'm thinking about is the guests will come in and they want to try, they're going to have a coffee. We're going to have a coffee for them. And let's say it's this coffee, right? You'll get to see it green and be like, this is the coffee, blah, 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 whatever, all of this. And then it'll become time to roast. Then we'll roast it, a la minute, right? We'll roast it right then so that people can see the roasting process. And then we can roast it to different degrees. Like we could roast it just the first crack or just past and get a really light roast, or take it a little bit deeper. They want to explore more. So it could be something where the guests would come in and maybe over a period of several visits could try one particular coffee in a variety of, I actually hadn't even thought about that aspect of it, coming in multiple times and tasting the coffee in a variety of roast profiles. That could be. And the nice thing is that when you're roasting the coffee, and Peter knows this, right, from experience, that when you roast the coffee, you can drink it within the first few hours and still have a really great cup before CO2 occlusion becomes an issue. So that's one of the reasons why I was thinking about it. Actually, it's based a lot on my experience last year with Don Chan at his Wan in Bangkok, and then talking to a friend of mine in Manila, my producer friend Z, about what her experience is with doing this kind of thing. And I was like, oh, maybe that's what we should be looking at. One iteration of what we do should be that. So yeah, totally different. And the different roast levels could be definitely a part of that. All right, so there's Paisa coffee. 2023 harvest. 18 to 1900 meters above sea level, the Finca El Camilo from the Rojas Granados family in Amaga, Antioquia, Colombia, which is a blend of Castillo Rosario and Cine Cafe Uno, washed for anaerobic and washed for 60 plus hours. So yeah, it's been here. I don't know. It says here arrived on March 2023. So it arrived over a year ago. I don't know if she still even has this coffee anymore, but she has other coffees that are available. Like the nice thing too is that there is a very large coffee storage warehouse in Baltimore. So if we're lucky enough to work with importers that maintain coffee there, I don't. My coffee is actually warehoused in Pennsylvania, but it would be, you could just drive. A lot of times, a lot of roasters in Baltimore will just drive over to the warehouse and pick it up. So very convenient. So if you ever worked in Seattle, there's a place called the Green Room in Seattle, where I remember going there, years ago with my mentor. We're like, whoa, it's amazing. It's just as big and just as crazy. Mom says, what coffees do you suggest for diabetics? I don't. If you're diabetic and you're drinking coffee, this is something you should talk to your PCP about. Like, I'm not the right person to ask this, but from my understanding, because coffee is just coffee and water with no sugars, I don't think there's much issues. If you're a diabetic, type 1 or type 2, I don't think there's much issues that you have to worry about as far as your blood sugar and how that might affect your diabetes. I don't believe there's an issue. But again, talk to your PCP. Don't listen to some dude on the internet telling you what to do about diabetes. That would be a bad idea, right? But yeah, I don't think that there's, I could give you the advice. Yeah, for diabetics, the best thing about being diabetic, you're immune to sugar, so you can go get frappuccinos all day long from Starbucks. Yeah, that would be bad advice. So don't listen to the guys on the internet. Go to your PCP, especially your PCP knows your history. And actually, I found a PCP a year ago, and I've been going to her for a year. Like I see her like every couple months, every 2 or 3 months, and it's been fantastic. Like if you find a great PCP that you can get along with, it that's not too judgmental. That's not always telling you, you're fat, you got to lose weight. Yeah, I know that. You don't have to tell me. I get it. I got it. But ice cream is so good, right? But I think that like if you find a great PCP that you can get along with, I think that it makes I'm okay. I'm happy to go to see my PCP on a regular basis. She's really interesting, a lot of fun to talk to, and it just makes it a much more interesting experience and much more of a good working relationship rather than like, oh man, I just have to go get scolded about how like fat I am this week, right? So that's what I would suggest. Drink coffee, don't add sugar, and go talk to your PCP. That's the best advice I can give. George says, it seems to me that pumping defeats the purpose of using. Well, I mean, I would have to agree with you on that. I mean, and if you look at the comments of the last video, I don't remember who it was offhand that said it, but they were like, if you pump it, it will get more of the coffee out of it. And I was like, okay, but like, I just like, my Bodems and my Ikeas are just, and then I don't have to do any work. I just pour and we're done, right? Like, and is this giving me better results necessarily than those? I don't know yet. But we're playing more with it. And George says it's cloudy compared to the first result last week. I mean, is it really that? I'll have to look. At the video. I don't feel like it looks that cloudy. Much more different. And I don't remember. I don't recall if I thought that the Espro brew was necessarily less cloudy than the Ufetta from IKEA. I don't know. I don't remember. Sometimes I don't remember all the details. Alzheimer's is setting in. So, and another update. I wanted to show you this. This is the liqueur that we fortified with sugar on the 21st of August, and I had mentioned about that one of the things that I've forgotten is that with my experience with the Orangina, the Orancello, is that it doesn't emulsify itself or dissolve as readily in alcohol as it does in water. So as you can see here, there's still some here. So you do have to shake it. So I have to keep shaking it every once in a while and I haven't shook it in like over a week. So I just noticed it before we went live and I was like, oh, I was going to label it finally. So make sure you shake it if you decide to do it. And if you decide to do it and you want to fortify it, I don't think you need to fortify, just you can leave it as an extract. But all right, well, that's pretty much all I have for you to. Thank you very much, Rusty. This is awesome, and I'm looking forward to bludgeoning anyone that may cross the line with this 1.874 kilo bibendum in iron. Like this guy is in iron. Like I would tap my head, but I'm afraid I would injure myself, right? Peter says, I don't see the point of a French press. Well, wow, what? I could get the same result in a teapot with a built-in strainer. True. But then you have to, do this whole thing, right? And maybe people don't want, and then maybe they want to have the trouble cleaning this. Like, I think French presses are paying to clean. Like, we would have it set up at Hamden. We had a basin for rinsing that we would just use, and so we had a colander, small colander set in it, so that as we would use the French presses, we'd go to the brew tower, fill it with water, and then dump it out so it would fall, and the grinds would fall in there. Because you use the V60, you just pull the filter, toss it in the trash, rinse it out. It's really simple. This type of brewer, you've got to like clean it out, and then you got to make sure that there's no grounds in it, and then it's like it's glass, so when you want to put it away, you got to make sure it's washed and dried correctly so it looks nice, because visually you want it to look nice. You don't want it to look all like hemajang and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I get it. Like French press is definitely more of a pain to produce coffee in than most other brewing methods. Like I think second to this would be like AeroPress, because you still got to pump it out and clean it up. But probably have offended lots of AeroPress people with that comment. But hey, I'm the AeroPress champion, so I'm all right. I'm a fan of AeroPress. Oh, another thing that I wanted to mention to you that I found out later there's this tab here, right? And this tab, this black tab, is actually impregnated to the glass. So in order to get the glass out, like on the bottom, you just pull the whole thing. You have to rotate it so that it comes to this gap, and then it'll come out. And you can pull it out. And then this is how you would just have this replacement if you want. And so this thing is just kind of sealed, infused to the glass side of the glass. And that's something nice, right? And to put it back in, just kind of go back the other way. And then that way it won't come out, which is actually a nice thing, because on the Boredom Sham boards that we have, if as you use them over the years and the bands get deformed, like I've had times when they did slide out of it. So this is actually a really nice feature. And if you don't break the glass, you've got it for a long time. All right, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for tuning in. Good to see all of you guys. Rusty, again, thank you very much for this. This is awesome. This will definitely take its place in the new shop. And yeah, so back again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about Goodwill hunting. We went down to the Goodwill store and picked up a brewing device, the Melita No. 4 filter. And I was like, well, let's give it a try. I haven't actually tried one of those. And maybe we'll put it head to head with the plastic Melita if I can find it somewhere around here. All right, so hope you guys have a wonderful day. Those of you who are in Asia, hope you have a wonderful night. And I'll be back again tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Eastern. And hope you have a great one, and see you then.